Welcome to Encounter, where we celebrate putting faith into action and community leaders who live out compassion, grace, and love. We're a program of the Broome County Council of Churches that addresses food insecurity through Chow and the Greater Good Grocery, provides hospital and jail ministry, builds wheelchair ramps, and assists neighbors with transportation and shopping services through Faith in Action volunteers. We invite you to the conversation. Encounter your neighbors as we learn to walk together in love and kindness.
Good morning and welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, Joe Sellepack, the Executive Director of the Broome County Council of Churches. One of the things that I take for granted is the fact that I can go into my driveway and there I have a car that I can turn on and it gets me to where I need to go. And I have the ability, because I haven't lost my license, and I can take that car to work. Oftentimes people, especially folks who are living in rural areas or places where, or in situations where they have lost their license or any number of other things and still need to get to work, we end up having problems as a community. And one of the places that we turn to when we're at a loss and we can't figure out where we're going or how to get there is to the Rural Health Network. The Rural Health Network offers a volunteer driver program. And to talk about this program with me today are two of the folks that help manage this program. Alexis,
Sankofa.
Sankofa. Alexis Sankofa. She is the program director for the volunteer drivers, volunteer services, right?
That's right.
And then we also have Jack Salo, who helps recruit some of those folks. So welcome to Encounter, both you, Alexis and Jack.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your program. What does it do, and what are you looking for today?
Well, we really would just like to get the word out about what we do. We cover 4 counties in South Central New York, and we run on volunteers. We couldn't operate without our volunteers. We offer non-emergency medical transportation to folks who don't have access to transportation. And we have about 27 drivers right now, but we're always looking to recruit new people.
So 27 drivers. How do you go about recruiting them, Jack?
One of the ways we do it, Joe, is by being here. We really need the whole community to help us recruit drivers, because last summer, for example, I did a tabling event, county fairs, farmers markets. I don't know, Alexis, how many I was at. Alexis joined me for some, but we averaged less than 1 applicant per tabling event. So it's really important that we do things like this and get the word out. We can't get to our target number, just by setting up the table and giving out brochures. People need to get involved. People in the audience may know of a neighbor, a friend, a family member who's recently retired, looking for something to do. This is a great way to serve the community. Our goal is to have 100 drivers recruited by March of 2027. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're confident that we can get there, hopefully exceed it, and if not that, get close.
Right. So Alexis, this is 4 counties, you said?
That's correct.
Yeah. Like what are those four counties?
So we cover Broome, Shenango, Otsego, and Delaware.
So Broome, Otsego, and that's a pretty significantly large geographical area, right?
Yes.
So you're looking. Are you thinking strategically about all 4 of those and where your volunteers come from?
Sure, we are. Right now, the largest pool we have is in Delaware County, and we are really hoping to look for folks that can serve in Broome County. We don't have a ton of drivers in Broome County. Shenango County, we're also looking in Otsego.
And what do you think the What type of training do you do for the drivers? I know that you just did something like that. So what kind of training do they go through, and background checks and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have an application process where folks submit some of their documents, like for instance a license, and then we process that paperwork, we do a background check, and then we offer an orientation just to sort of acclimate the drivers to what it is they'll be doing. Once they do that, they're off and driving.
All right. And so it's not really a complicated thing. Where can they find those materials where they sign up for that?
Sure. They can go to the website. We're building the website, but it's up and running, and there's good information on it already. But the website address is rhncny.org/VTS/. The other thing they can do, Joe, is they can contact me directly at my email address, jsalo@rhncny.org, or they can call me. So that's my role here. I try. The application process for some, can get a little bit complicated.
Yeah, right.
And so really I'm involved, as is Alexis, with helping people through that process.
So if they don't have access to a computer, what would your phone number be?
607-743-0120.
And again, they could probably Google Rural Health Network and
Sure.
come up with all that material too.
Right.
And right there on your website, does it have the, like how to access all of the volunteer program
Yeah,
and all that kind of
there's
stuff?
a direct link on our website to apply.
All right, very good. So Rural Health Network is an interesting name, and I know that Jack, you have a long history with Rural Health Network, but Alexis, what as the program director for this, how does your program connect to the overall mission of the organization itself?
Well, our mission is to address health disparities in our rural populations, and we're doing just that with the driving program for folks who don't have access to transportation that needs to get to medical appointments.
And how prevalent is this problem, Jack?
Well, Joe, I think it's a significant problem, and one of the reasons I'm still involved in this work, and I've been involved in rural transportation for over 40 years, is people age out of driving. And
right.
Another issue, and I think you referenced it earlier, is it's expensive to own a car. AAA provides an update on what car ownership costs every year. Currently, it's over $12,000 a year to own and operate, a later model vehicle. So you've got folks that just don't have that kind of ability, to own a car, or they're owning a car that is not dependable. I really believe it's important if you have an older person, for example, that ages out of driving, and sometimes it's not black and white. They may be able to drive locally, but they can't get to Albany or Binghamton for a medical appointment. They're past being able to do that. So we want to make sure, for the senior population, I don't believe that any senior who otherwise could live in their home, but for lack of driving, should have to leave their community and leave their home. I think this is a really important way that we support people in our rural places. And I think most, a large percentage or a large part of Broome County is rural.
Right.
You've got really strong transportation, public transportation, private transportation in the greater Binghamton area. Once you get out into the hinterlands, that's not so much the case. So I think it's a really important need. Another point that I like to make is that, and I've been a volunteer driver since August of 2024, and I transport folks whose family members can help them part of the time, but not all of the time. My dad, his last year of life, we counted up all of the health-related appointments that he had. He had 60 health-related appointments in the last year of his life, and if we didn't have a strong family system and network that could support that, I don't know what he would have done. So it's not a black and white issue. Some people need the transportation support all of the time. Some people need it some of the time. And another issue is affordability.
Right.
Volunteer programs, they're not free. We have to make sure Alexis is supported. The drivers get paid mileage, but they cost typically in our region maybe a third the cost of like a private cab type of service. So you're able to provide more transportation service at a lower cost. You get your community involved in terms of being, some of them being volunteer drivers, and others can support the program through donations, fundraisers, because we do need that revenue base in order to run the program.
So you said that there is a cost that's associated with it for that must be for the individual who's homebound, right?
No. There's no cost. If people can contribute to the cost of a trip, sometimes a trip might cost $100, let's say a round trip, and if they are able to contribute something towards that cost, then the funding goes into a pool that's used to support somebody else. But it's based, anyone who needs a ride, there's not a fee. It's more of a donation basis. Yeah.
All right, so it's a donation. So the person, it's not tied to income or anything like that.
No,
so you don't do a lot of means testing and all that.
And again, if someone can't afford it, we provide the ride. There's not an expectation. There's just an invitation to donate if they can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alexis, when you're thinking through the logistics of the program and the kinds of needs that seniors especially might have, what's the importance? Like, why really support your program, and what is the nuts and bolts of it? Like from that kind of a perspective.
I guess I'm not quite sure.
Like why would I want to support your program?
Oh, well, so that we can serve individuals who don't have transportation.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's from my perspective, when you think through transportation, it's especially for a senior who's homebound. Mm-hmm. It's a particular problem that's bigger than just being homebound, right? So you have like mental issues, all kinds of other things that kind of go along with that.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about what we do as an organization. So oftentimes our programs can feel a bit siloed, but we are trying to work together. So if we have folks that come in with the need for transportation, they often do have a need for support in other types of ways in which our organization can support them. We have community health programs, we have a food and health network, and of course our transportation program.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in because what Alexis is saying is so important. As a driver, one of the things, and I think Alexis would back me up on this, you develop relationships with the people you transport, and that social connection you mentioned someone who's homebound or maybe isolated, their family lives out of state, and those relationships become important both to the person and the driver, so it's a really strong social connection.
And one of our programs at the Council of Churches is the Faith in Action Volunteers. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we try to do is get people involved in volunteering for seniors to help them live independently in their own homes outside of just driving. And so one of my favorite stories was over a guy. All he wanted somebody to do was stop by and play chess with him.
Yeah.
And so that and I can play chess, or there are a number of people that can play chess, and so this person just said, I need somebody to come by and play chess with me. And so we found a person who was willing to go by and play chess with him, and they checked out, and they had their background check done, and then they end up going and playing chess. Now we found out that they were both IBM retirees, decade apart from each other, but they knew some of the same people. They had been involved in the same work, and Both of them were retired engineers, so it was like one thing after the other they found out, and a friendship emerged from it. And that's just so important for people not to feel as if, they're being punished or, they're isolated. And mental health amongst seniors is really important. And that part of that is the isolation that they experience when they're homebound and not able to get out of the house, right?
Yeah, it's a really rewarding position for our drivers to be able to offer that connection, because oftentimes it is the only connection that folks are receiving.
Yeah. My guests today are Alexis Sankofa and Jack Salo from the Rural Health Network. And we're talking about their transportation program that they help manage for the Rural Health Network, and how people can volunteer, how they can get involved in the program, maybe even how they can donate. So do you take donations for people that would like to?
Yeah, if they go to the Rural Health Network website, how you can help, they would want to select the Connection to Care option, because that is the fund that supports the volunteer transportation service.
And is there a generalized, like, how much does an average ride cost the Rural Health Network?
It depends. Some of our trips are like rather long,
right?
And some of them are, shorter. So it depends on the ride. We could have a ride that costs, $100. We may have a ride that costs us $300, depending on how far the person is going.
My rides will not be that expensive this week. I'm doing Sydney to Sydney trips. I live in Sydney, so if I pick up someone in Sydney, right, that there's not a big expense. But Alexis is right. More typically, if you're looking at Delaware, Shenango County, rural Broome, you're talking about some long distances. And we do take people to Albany, Syracuse, wherever they need to go for their medical care.
Now, so one of the things that you mentioned, Jack, was that there might be even a comfort level, for the person. They can usually drive themselves when they need to get someplace, but when it comes to going to Albany, or if it means going to Binghamton, or maybe even Syracuse, those places get a little intimidating for people because they're not within their comfort zone at that point. So is there, when you're thinking this through, is there an issue, how important is that issue to your program? Is it one of the reasons that your program exists is because of that comfort, some of the issues of just around comfort, being able to get there?
I mean, that applies to our drivers too. We tailor our service. The drivers are volunteers.
Right.
They tell us when they're available. They tell us, some drivers may only want to transport seniors. Some female drivers may only want to transport other women. So we really try to tailor the program, whether it's a passenger or a driver, to be sensitive to the preferences, of the individual.
Yeah, and really, I mean, the idea of getting in, like for me, because I lived in Binghamton for so long, it doesn't faze me. But if you're from the rural area, there is a real fear involved in that, right, Alexis?
Oh, sure. Folks tend to think of Binghamton as the big city.
Right.
So it's helpful to have a driver that can be with them to make it more comfortable.
There's another thing in terms of that comfort, and that is this afternoon, I will call the person I'm transporting tomorrow morning.
Right.
I'll introduce myself. I'll let him know what time I'll be there. I'll describe my vehicle, and that gives people real peace of mind. They're contacted the day before, and then you do an introduction. So I think, Joe, what you're talking about is really, really important. We're working with people, right?
Right.
So we need to be sensitive to their needs and their situation, and we work hard to make that happen.
And really, I mean, when you think about like health in general, this holistic approach to health, and involves transportation and involves food and other kinds of things like that, and access. And
Yeah.
access is a big part of that. So what you're doing is trying to expand a little bit more on that definition of health as well, right?
Do we have time? Could I talk just briefly about the program that we're modeled after? I think that would be helpful to the audience. There's a program in Watertown, New York, called the Volunteer Transportation Center, and they serve 3 Adirondack counties. I think it's Jefferson, Lewis, I wrote them down, I don't want to get them wrong. Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties. They have 200 volunteer drivers. They do 6 million miles of transportation a year. More than half of their drivers drive full-time. This is the best rural transportation effort I've seen in my 40 years of working in rural health and rural transportation. So the big idea, and they've been working with us for over 10 years now, and they're also providing technical assistance to our program. If they can do it there, we can do it here. And I just, Alexis has been up there and worked with them. I've been up there. They do extraordinary work, and we really aspire to be where they are, maybe within the next 3 to 5 years. But it's a great, great model.
And you said, Alexis, Jack intimated this, that there's a technical aspect to it. So what is that aspect?
Well, one of the technical aspects is each driver receives a tablet for their trips.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of training with that. There's also setting up the tablets and that type of thing.
Yeah. So you set up the tablet. Do you have a master database that you kind of work from?
Yes. To configure each tablet, we do.
So to configure the tablets, but then do they access that database that says I've got this rider needs this, all that kind of thing?
Yes. It's two-sided. So the driver receives the tablet and they input everything that they're doing, their stops and who they're picking up and whatnot. And then on our side, we can see their GPS, where they've gone. We can see it on our side as well.
And so if they called in and they had like car trouble or something while they were doing it, they would be able to let you know about that?
Yes, we have drivers call every day for various reasons.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, so it's a pretty significant role that you play. So how many clients or how many people are you helping right through this program?
That's a good question. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can tell you it's quite a few people. We do some days 10 rides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how does if a person needs a ride? So we've already talked about the folks who are driving.
Sure.
What would how would a person go access your program?
Well, we have the Get There program at RHN, and folks can call them directly, and they do a brief intake and find out what the client's needs are, and then they match them up with the appropriate type of transportation.
And what's the Get There number?
I got it right here.
Perfect.
2509.
607-296-2509.
2509.
Right.
And that will get them to the Get There program so that they can sign up and perhaps get a driver.
Right, and the big idea with Get There is they will work with the person calling to determine what the most appropriate type of transportation help is. It might be fuel cards if they have a family member. Let's say they're getting chemo and they have to make many trips, right? They might get a fuel card to help pay for that because they have a driver, but the driver needs help. Or they may get to the volunteer transportation service. Myself or another driver may end up doing the ride. Or if it's in the city of Binghamton and they're not familiar or comfortable using public transit, they might be directed there.
All right, so we have 3 things that we're kind of really plugging today.
Yep.
One of them is you need volunteers.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So if a person wants to volunteer, they can go to the website for the Rural Health Network.
Right.
And find that volunteer page, or they can call the Rural Health Network.
Correct.
And ask for you, correct?
Well, they can call me directly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is your number directly?
Again, it's 607 743-0120. And I will meet with, if somebody's interested, I will meet with them at their home, in their community, work with them over the phone, however, whatever makes it easy for them.
All right. And then the first thing is volunteers. Second thing is the individuals who would like to call in to get the services, right? And so those folks can find it on the Get There program on the website.
That's right.
And then the third thing is just donations, because we need, all nonprofits need money in order to work, right? So if a person wants to donate to the Rural Health Network, they can go onto your website, and again, how do they get to this actual program in order to donate?
There's either a donation link or how you can help, in the menu, and then there's a drop-down menu, and the Connection to Care Fund is what supports the volunteer transportation service.
Now, one of the things I like to ask people, Alexis, is how did you get involved in this work? And why do you feel that it's important to your life?
Well, I came to the Rural Health Network because I've been in nonprofit and I wanted to continue that way. And I've just heard about the wonderful work they do and what a wonderful employer they are. So I made the leap to come over to RHN a few years ago, and it's just a wonderful way to be of service to the community. So that's what keeps me going.
So you like to be of service, and you like to know that your work is making a difference in people's lives.
That's right, and I think the same thing goes for our drivers. They find quite a sense of satisfaction in giving. If you have to have a giving heart, I would say, in order to be a driver.
Yeah, and Jack, I know that you have a lifetime of history, and we could probably spend an entire program just talking about the 40 years that you've been in service. But if you were to give me 45 or 50 seconds, like synopsis of why be involved in public service that you think that is important.
I think, Joe, for me, it was something that I was raised with, that it is important. And then the other thing I would say is, first and foremost, I'm an advocate for rural places and rural people. And I think, maybe I have a chip on my shoulder. I think there are some things stacked against us in terms of having an urban, suburban kind of orientation with policy and funding and things of that nature. So I'm a bit of a contrarian, I guess. I just want to see the rural places do as well as they can. And I've lived rural most of my life, so that's a motivator also.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you, Alexis and Jack, for being on Encounter today and talking to us a little bit about the problems of transportation and how you're working to serve that for folks living in those rural communities. Thank you for being on Encounter.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
the
us.
time. Yep.
And for all of you, I pray that you would be good and gentle and kind to each other. Have a great day. And then we have about 11 seconds to look like we like each other.
Oh, okay.